my first day, he taught me how to crawl,
Yeah.
and then he taught me how to roll over, and he taught me how to walk. He taught me how to march. He taught me how to run. It was, from the bottom up, he taught me all of these things. And he looks at me like I'm crazy. He's like, Isaac, I've all this stuff we've worked on over these past few years, and you want me to build something for you? Why don't you do it yourself? And I was like, okay, that was kind of mean, but I get it. Like, I will do that. And that's when I made my first program. The strength of the bison is in the herd, and the strength of the herd is in the bison.
Nice.
And that carries a lot of weight because, essentially what it means is you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Hello and welcome back. Today we have a special guest. I got introduced to him through Jack Woolhouse and we connected, and our paths are similar. So it's really nice to have you, Isaac. How you doing?
Good, good. How you doing, coach?
I'm good. So obviously we've kind of been speaking off air for a while,
Yeah.
but just give us a quick introduction of who you are, your pathway up until this point.
Yeah, for sure. My name's Isaac Aguirre. Obviously, I'm from Toppenish, Washington. Born and raised. I go by Coach Ike now. Spent some time at the high school level coaching a little bit after I got my exercise science degree from Eastern Washington University. Coached the track and field. I coached some throwers there, got a few state medals coaching with my brother. Led into the whole football strength thing with the high school team. Got really tied in with my coaches there. Just loved it. Working together as a unit. And one thing led to another. I ended up at the University of Washington for an internship, and that panned out great for me. Applied for a position here at North Dakota State University in Fargo, North Dakota, and got it. So I'm working here now as a graduate assistant, and I'll be getting my master's. Really excited to learn more about the Bison way, as we call it here. Much different than what we are doing at the UW. So it's really cool to be a part of it.
Yeah, can you just explain a little bit of like what a graduate assistant is and how it is that you came about that position?
Yeah. So the way I came about it was little bit of a loop de loop actually. Is I found the position through another intern at UW. He sent it to me, and I applied for it. I got turned down. He said, head coach Jason Miller said he already hired someone. I was kind of, dang, whatever. And I'm applying to a bunch of other positions. And then I go to the gym one day and I get a call, and it's Jason Miller. And he says, hey, is this Isaac? Our last candidate had to move. He had to go on deployment. We saw your
Oh,
resume and
damn.
wanted to reach out before we opened it back up. And I was like, hell yeah, man. Like, let's talk. And I talked to him for 20 minutes, had an interview the next day, and he called me 5 minutes after the interview and offered me the position. So,
Um,
I'm blessed to be a part of it. I'm happy to be here. For those who know FCS Division I football, they know North Dakota State is incredible at football. I work with the Olympic sports: basketball, baseball, track and field, wrestling, all those sports that don't include football. But it's great. It's awesome to be here. I love it. Basically, as a graduate assistant, you're an assistant coach on the staff. The way they do it here, especially in Fargo, is there's a head coach, there's assistant coach, and then there's two GAs and a paid intern that turns into a GA, which is the role that I'm in right now. It's getting accelerated through one of the GAs getting another job, but basically you coach. You're an assistant coach on the staff, and they pay for your master's degree in a related field, and you get a free education, you get coaching experience, and that's pretty much the gist of it. It's pretty simple. Some would say it's a little bit archaic in today's climate of working, because you don't really get paid too much, but that's not really what it's about. You
yeah,
get a free education, you get the experience, and you get to build something special with people that you care about. And that's something that I said in my interview with coaches. I want to go somewhere that can feel like home, because I don't want
yeah,
to end up stuck, somewhere for 3-4 years, hate it, and then I don't even want to coach anymore because I got a sour taste left in my mouth. So, that's really what it's about for me. Um, I'm only 3 weeks in here at North Dakota State, but I'm loving it. I get to train every day with my other coaches that I work with. I'm working on my Olympic lift progressions, getting back into the cleans. I'm learning the snatch now. It's awesome.
Nice.
I love it.
AJ's the best one for that.
Yeah, AJ gets down on those clean and jerks, man. I was remember watching him. I'm like, okay, I'm not messing with AJ no more, man.
So you mentioned that you kind of are in the athletic side, so you do multiple sports. What's the sort of difference you found between all of them? Like having to
not too
jump
many,
between them.
not too many differences, really. Um,
Right.
not too many differences. We're all the same species, right? We're all humans. We all have to adapt to the same, problems, and in athletics especially, right? Uh, the main difference I would say would get into like the auxiliary lifts. So a wrestler, we do a lot more like neck exercises because wrestling, you're getting tugged on your neck quite a bit. Whereas with a volleyball player, they'd probably be doing more, you know, overhead presses when you're doing your auxiliary lifts, stuff like that. But the meat and the potatoes of our training here at North Dakota State is the Olympic lift progressions. That's we work our way up to progressions in that sense. We start with block pulls. We start with trap cleans. We move up to hang cleans. We do 3 position hang cleans, and then we can see how that looks and whether or not this athlete can progress to power cleaning from the ground.
Mm,
Because we have a top down building, I guess you could say, to how we do our Olympic lifts progressions. If it's got to look from the top before we can get to the bottom, and it works. These athletics here have great success for a reason, and the university, continues to put money and to build the strength and conditioning here. They just built a brand new facility for football here.
damn.
It's a brand spanking new weight room, off the charts, incredible field house with an outside field, like garage doors right outside of it. I mean, it's
Oof.
incredible. And they do it because they believe that the Bison way works.
Yep.
They believe in Coach Kramer runs the football and Coach Miller runs the Olympic sports. They believe in these guys. And it's shown over the past 20 some years that it works. So, if you have success, why change it?
Yeah. Don't fix something that's not broken.
Yep.
Can you give us a little background of your sporting history? I know you mentioned that you coached track and field and you did a bit of track and field yourself. So if you just go through that as well.
Yeah, so my first introduction to sports, I was in the 8th grade. I was probably about 14 years old, I would say. I got into track and field. Ironically, I got into track and field because I had a crush on the manager. So I was like, "Yep, I'm doing track," and I get there and I'm like, "This is pretty fun." I was a shot putter, I was a discus thrower, and what's cool about track is you get in what you put out. And
Yep.
if you want to work really, really hard at it to be really, really good, then do that. But if you just want to come hang out and chill with your friends and eat snacks in the tent, then you can do that. Like there's room for everybody in track and field. And I think that's what sucked me in right away. It's like, okay, I can work really hard at this and get, potentially really good. So I just loved it, and I wanted to find out what can I do to get better at this. I want to throw farther. I was immediately hooked and hungry to get better, and that's when I found Coach Piper, John Piper, my brother, who was also my throws coach in high school. He's like, "You want to get better, you got to do Pipers," and John Piper, ironically enough, was also my elementary school PE teacher,
Right.
and he ended up back at the high school level, where he was strength training, and he ran a PE class as well, but it was called performance training, and it wasn't standard PE class where you just show up and suit up and shoot balls. This was we're training. This is real, athlete style training. And I did his introductory program going into my first year of high school, which, you know, we just learned things. We just learned
Mm,
how to do everything. It wasn't like we were loading up our backs with a bunch of weight on squat or trying to pull from the ground on power clean. My first day, he taught me how to crawl,
yeah.
and then he taught me how to roll over, and he taught me how to walk. He taught me how to march. He taught me how to run. It was, from the bottom up, he taught me all of these things. And there was a couple other kids in that group with me. I believe Bo Widener was in that group with me. Yeah, grew up across the river from me. Good kid. Shout out to Bo. But it was a blast, and I realized then, like, okay, I'm seeing these changes in my body already. Imagine what, if I stick to this, what can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to find out more ways to get better at track and field. My brother said, play football, be an athlete, do multiple sports. So I joined the football team, and boy, was I bad. I had no clue what I was doing, but it was fun. That's my first team sport, and when it's you and 10 other guys on the field, and you're going up against 11 guys on the opposite side of the line of you bond, you have fun, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I loved playing football, and I never really loved it as much as track and field. Not until
Mm.
I got a little bit older, like towards the end of high school is when I really figured it out in football. I got some varsity time as a junior in high school, and then going into my senior year, I was like, you know what? I got whooped all year. I'm going to take my training to the next level. And that's when I went to John Piper, who had been training me for the past 3 years. And I said, I love your program. It's done incredible things for me. But can you build me something that I can do, to double up on? Can I do it, in the afternoon, right? So I can get 2 training sessions in a day. And he looks at me like I'm crazy. He's like, Isaac, I've all this stuff we've worked on over these past few years, and you want me to build something for you? Why don't you do it yourself? And I was like, okay, that was kind of mean, but I get it. Like, I will do that. And that's when I made my first program. It was horrible. It was
Mm.
disgustingly bad, but I did it. And I went from 24% body fat to 16% body fat in the course of 12 weeks, and I was 272 pounds, and then I was 264 pounds. It was stark difference in my athletic abilities in just a short amount of time. Relatively, 12 weeks isn't that long, and I took a lot of pride in that program. I swear it changed the world for me, and I ended up becoming an all-league football player. Had more
Nice.
success in football than I did in track and field, which was weird because I felt like I dumped more time into track, but football just kind of worked out for me, and it was awesome. I loved it. Um, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for my athletic career. I didn't do anything
Nice.
after high school. I didn't get any looks for college, and I probably could have played at a lower division school. Now that I know how college athletics works, and these Division 3
Mm.
programs, they bring in players all the time. But it's just I wasn't really tapped in with it. I had no clue what I was doing at that age. So
So how does that progress from obviously being coached, making your first program, to then wanting to become a strength and conditioning coach?
yeah, that was probably around, I was probably 15 or 16 in my second year of high school. I told Piper, like, hey, this is something that I love. I love what you do, and I want to do what you do when I get older, when I grow up. And he's like, all right, well, you need to go to Eastern Washington University. You need to study exercise science, and you need to, get involved in the field. And I said, okay. And I mean, if I could have signed a letter of intent to Eastern Washington University that day, I would have done it because my mind was set. I was going to Cheney, Washington. I was going to study at EW, and I was going to get a degree in exercise science. And that's exactly what I did. And that I never once looked back. I had my thoughts about maybe I should change this up. It's not really working out, but I did it. I stuck to it. It took me 5.5 years to graduate.
Uh,
Usually it takes people 4, but I stuck to it, and that's because it's something I believed in. It's something that I loved, and it's something I knew I wanted to do. And I would say it's working out pretty well now.
I mean, yeah, I would say so too. So, I, me and you've sort of spoke about this earlier, but we're really into like the movement competency of developing the athletes. Like John Piper, as you said, got you to crawl, got you
hmm
to walk, got you to march.
hmm
So there's like that clear progression. How do you now implement these things with some of the programs that you're having to build?
Well, obviously it's a little bit more on the advanced side now, working with
Hmm.
Division 1 athletes opposed to 13, 14-year-old kids. So basically what we do for speed training here at North Dakota State, we it's very similar. We start them off with a march. We start them off just doing a knee hug, pulling up, extending at the top, and feeling that tension as they hit the ground. And what we rep this out constantly, 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 and then we'll work up to a march, and then work up to an A march. And I've been here for 3 weeks, and I've only seen one team sprint. We like most of the teams are not ready to sprint yet, so coach still has them working on those marches every single day. And it's not like we're trying to hold these kids back. A lot of them are ready to do it, but he has the 90% rule here at in Fargo, which I love. And is if you can't have 90% of your athletes doing the same thing, then it's not a good exercise for the group, right? If you're going to have a quarter, half of your athletes in that group doing a regression of an exercise that the other half is doing, it's not good for the group. It's not good for the team. You want to keep them all together as much as you can and keep them doing the same thing. And that's something that I'm constantly just taking notes on everything this guy says. I think he's a guru. I love working for Jason Miller. He does things like that
Mm.
for the athletes, right? For the team. It's all about the team here. And you know, um, we're working with wrestlers right now, and trying to get them on their clean progressions. And we're not entirely sure that they're ready to work up to a power clean. In terms of the new freshman incoming guys. So we have them on a trap clean, which is basically, you just do like a single shrug, and then you do like a squat clean into it. Hard to demo here on the chair, but so and it's all about getting the stimulus, right? It's not necessarily
Yeah.
about how the movement, you know, progresses and how much weight we have on it. If we're getting the stimulus of what we want, then we're succeeding. We're having a good day of training.
Yeah. Can you just give us a little bit more of an explanation on what the 90% rule means and how
Yeah.
that?
So the way I see it here is you can't have you can't have an overwhelmingly large portion of your team on a power clean if another large portion of them are still on a hang clean, right? So let's say I have 30 guys on the baseball team in the weight room. 15 of them are power cleaning and 15 of them are hang clean. That means when I'm bouncing around rack to rack, I got to coach two different exercises at the same time. Is that proficient? Probably not. Right? I'm going to be off now when I hop rack to rack. Okay,
Hmm.
let's hinge down to our knees, and then okay, let's get into the squat. Let's get our hips low. Wait, hold up. I was supposed to be on hang clean. Oh, dang it. Like I got to move, that's the way I see it. Now, that'd be a good question for Jason, for Coach Miller. I got to ask him that. But it makes it sort of a mess, and it makes you look like
Mm.
a bad coach if you're having to jump around and teach half the guys this and half the guys that, and it's just not as efficient. So I think my point of view is, you know, if 90% of them can do it, and we can work with three guys on the side, then you're golden. That's
Yeah.
the way I see it.
That's actually something that me and Jack spoke about on our podcast is that that's one of the biggest things that we learned at UW is like how can we go from point A to point B in the like straightest line. So like
Hmm.
everything runs off tri or quad sets. Everything's sort of in a circuit type deal. So even when you're getting all your equipment, you set up beforehand,
Hmm.
get everything ready. So like when you come to the session, everything's done, everything's ready to go. And then that session, you're exactly right. Like if you're having to now coach two different exercises when everyone's doing like 50% doing one, 50% doing the other, it makes coaching a lot harder because you're having to now think of your cues, coach your cues while keeping that energy about the sort of lift.
Hmm.
What are some of the ways that you've found getting everyone ready for that 90%?
Well, I think, like I mentioned earlier, the top down, looking at everything from the top down is not only a good thing for power clean, but it's a good thing for all exercises. And that's not even just athletes; that's general population.
Mm.
How many times you go to the gym and you see someone doing a horizontal jump with a band around their waist, you know, connected to the wall. It's like, dude, you can't even horizontal jump. Like, let's work on a reactive jump forward, and then let's work on that horizontal, and then maybe we'll add some resistance. It's you got to view it from the top down. If it looks bad up top, then let's build that and then start to work down towards the ground, almost like the foundation of a house, but just flip flopped,
Yeah.
right? So if you have, let's say, I don't know, five guys who are progressing, well beyond the rest of the wrestling team. They're, doing incredible at the hang clean. Okay, well, I have 25 other guys who are not so hot at the hang clean. They need a lot of more work. How can I make it? How can I make it better for those five guys? Well, we
Mm.
just go up and wait. We just we load. We put more load on it. It's not like we have to progress those guys significantly further along in their training because they're better athletes, because they're stronger guys. Like, no, we increase their load on that exercise to help them adapt to the rest of the group, because it's what's the saying they got here? The strength of the bison is in the herd, and the strength of the herd is in the bison.
Nice.
And that carries a lot of weight, because essentially what it means is you're only as strong as your weakest link. And if you can't be strong together, then what are we? We're not a
Yep.
team.
100%. And that's an interesting point that you brought up is like the intensity levels can be altered very differently as well. So obviously you've got load, you've got rest time, you've got the amount of exercises that you're going. So like working with intensities can also be a really good way to adapt those players that are perhaps going up or
Hmm.
still hanging back. Can you sort of explain a little bit of a difference that you found between sort of the bison way and sort of the dog way?
Yeah, I think a big thing, obviously, is our sessions look totally different than what they look like at UW. I sent you
Yeah,
a picture of my card. We use a card system here in Fargo, and we do 5, 6, 7 exercises a day with our athletes. At UW, how many think we were doing? What, 15, maybe like 13,
16.
12, 16 exercises? And it's an incredibly big difference, not only in exercise, but um, the load is a lot more. I guess it's a lot more exact. We go around to each rack, and we see sets. So a coach sees a set every time and
Yeah.
has a number for them on their next set. Okay, that looked really good. Let's go up 5. Okay, that looked not so hot. Let's go down 5. That sort of thing. We always say, we want to see your first, we want to see your seconds, we want to see your thirds, and we'll give you a weight for next week. So after we see their third set, if it looks awesome, okay, we're probably going to start them a little bit, maybe 10, 15 pounds heavier on their first set next week compared to where they were at this week. And it feels a lot more individualized to an extent here at North Dakota, but also we don't have 120 guys in the weight room.
Mm-hmm.
We have that ability to do that here. I think we take a little bit slower of a pace, where like a freshman comes in if to University of Washington, and they kind of just they get thrown in there. They get thrown in with the Sharks, right? They have to catch up to the other guys. Where here it's more we're going to build them up together. We're going to build them up with you know the guys who've been here, the veteran guys, and those guys are going to take a regression in one of their exercises or 2 or 3 of their exercises so that the new guys can catch up.
That I was trying to pull up your card, but I think because of the Instagram way, it's disappeared.
Oh, did it really?
Um, yeah, it's all good though. So in terms of sort of building that program, what are the sort of things that you look for?
In like building a card?
Yeah.
Well, you want to relate it to their sport as much as possible. But like I said, there's a clear bread and butter to what we're doing here at North Dakota State, and that is Olympic lift progression. We always start with an Olympic lift, some sort of progression or regression of that, whether it's an overhead squat preparing us for a snatch, a hang clean progressing us to get to a power clean, a deadlift. We use deadlift here, which is another big difference between UW. I love that we deadlift here. I love deadlift. Um,
Can you explain maybe why not and why they do?
why they do and why they don't deadlift? Um, I would imagine. I think we deadlift here. I haven't asked, which I should probably ask why they deadlift. Um, I think the reason we deadlift here is because essentially it is preparing you for the pull from the ground on a power clean, right? It's pretty relatable. We deadlift from the same stance, same grip as a power clean, and if I can pull 300 pounds, that's going to boost my confidence when I'm
Hmm.
trying to pull 200 pounds on a power clean. You know what I mean? So I would imagine that's why we're doing it here. I never asked why we don't deadlift at UW. I really should have asked, but I always kind of figured deadlift was a shunned upon thing in athletics. So I just kind of, hid in the bushes for that. And then I'd pull out my deadlift bar and start lifting after the
Yeah,
players
I don't
left.
know. Um, I think I think I did speak to AJ about this, and I think it's that risk to reward ratio. So they're
Mm,
trying to get athletes from point A to point B as quick as possible because they have to all go at the same workout. And I think teaching a deadlift, like a proper deadlift, in that sort of environment is harder to do when you're trying. They've got like 50 to 55-minute sessions, and then they're having to go through 16 exercises.
yeah,
I think that learning curve between sort of learning the proper way of deadlifting to maybe just a trap bar, you're in a better position. They do a lot of trap bar deadlifts at
yep,
UW.
yep.
So I think it's that risk to reward ratio that happens there.
Mhm. Yeah, we
That's
do we do trap bar deadlifts as well with our basketball. Our men's basketball doesn't deadlift conventional. We deadlift with trap bars actually,
mm,
which is a lot different than the other teams, right? And I'm not sure the philosophy behind that. Um, obviously being strong here versus being strong here. What's the huge difference? It's minuscule.
yep.
Like at the end of the day, like if we want to, get a deadlift stimulus, we could probably just clean pull, and it'd be better for our athletes anyway. Um, but I have to agree with AJ on that. Like if you got 60 guys in the weight room between 18 racks, a deadlift goes from looking really good to
Hmm.
looking really bad super fast. I mean, the first rep can be, mint, and the second rep, you got a guy curving his shoulders over the bar, his core's not tight,
Angry
his
cat.
hips are way up in the air. Like, whoa, dude, what happened? that's like that's what we call a train wreck here in Fargo. We get like we always mention and after every session we meet up. Was there any train wrecks? Nope. Okay. Yeah.
We did
If
something right.
like come on, man. Like
No, I think as well, like obviously American football, as I found out, is a very high testosterone type sport.
oh
So
yeah.
if you've got like 60 guys wanting to compete with each other
Hmm.
and you're having that deadlift, and then they're like, I've definitely had to pull some athletes back from going up weight because they were getting challenged. And I was like, dude, like, I get why you want to go up, but I want to see you out on that field
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more like that's fine, like if you want to compete, but your chance and injury, like
Hmm.
this is what's at stake if you do that. So for
So
them, it was kind of like, yeah,
yeah, and I love it. I love the competition in training. I
mm,
really do. I mean, especially when I'm working with the throwers here, like they compete. They're screaming, they're yelling, and these are male and female athletes all in the room together. It's awesome. I'll get a video for it and send it to you
yes, please,
next time because they go crazy and they compete with each other. It's always a competition, and you know like if we're working with the basketball team, somebody loads up 195 on the bar and they smash it out for 5 on bench, and they get up there running around, feeling real good, and then the next guy's up, "Oh, I'm doing 200," and it's like, oh, okay, well let's see it, and he throws up 5 reps, easy, smooth, and he's getting up, he's feeling even bigger, and the next guy, well, I'm gonna do 205. and that it feeds on
Yeah.
itself. And the competition in the weight room is an incredible thing, and if it's done correctly, if it's facilitated safely, I'm all about it. But where do the coaches get lost, right? where
Mm.
where do we okay, oh yeah, let's go up, and he looks like a train wreck by rep 3. We got to pull him off that now.
Mm-hmm.
He loses confidence, she loses confidence, and then they didn't finish their set. So like we got 2 losses on that from one set just because we thought they could go up 5 pounds.
Yep.
Not only did we lose our stimulus from training, but we lost confidence, and that's the biggest thing for athletes, right? At the end of the day, we compete on the field, we compete on the court, we compete, in the ring. We don't compete in training, right? Training
Okay.
is
Yep.
training for a reason.
I should probably correct myself in that. I do like I obviously like to push my athletes and always challenge them for the biggest weights. But it's what you said, it's that sensibleness
Hmm.
of knowing when they can push and when
Yeah,
not to. And that all comes from experience. Like you've seen probably thousands of athletes just walking through and just you know what athletes you can push, you know which athletes want to push, but you kind of need to keep like a short leash on them
yeah.
not to go too wild.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, what are the mixed sessions like? You're the first coach that I've ever had having mixed sessions all at once,
Like different athletes, or you mean
male and
female and male?
female. Yeah.
So when I'm working with any sort of track and field group, it's male and female,
Mm.
and we have we'll have girls at one rack, boys at one rack, so on and so forth, and all the girls at the same height at one rack, that sort of deal. Um, it's really, I mean, I was coaching at the high school level, so it's nothing to me. I mean, that to me, that's where I thrive. I've had more success in the weight room training girls, training female athletes, and I've had more success coaching female athletes in track and field. One of my best athletes I've ever coached, when I was coaching at Toppenish High School, she is incredibly successful. She has the school record in the shot put. She has a school record in the discus, and she has 2 more years of high school left to improve on those marks. And she has
Mm.
5 state medals. She's
Damn.
one of the best athletes I've ever worked with, and I've worked with Division 1 athletes. Um, and I think what it is with male athletes, you have to battle before you can bond,
Mm.
and with female athletes, you got to bond before you can battle. And that's sort of where I've always shined as not only a coach but as a person. I've been able to tap into people's personalities and get them to crack and get them to break pretty easily, especially athletes, to where okay, I trust this guy. He's cool. He's funny. Whatever, and then I can coach them. And that's kind of how it is for female athletes. Whereas boys, I had a guy in the weight room the other day. It was probably last week. We're doing clean pulls, and he's a big strong kid. He's a jumper, I believe. Um, he's getting irritated. He's mad because he's clean pulling, and he's throwing the weight up way up here,
Mm.
like it's, and he's saying it's too light, like blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, dude, like a clean pull, like we're just pulling it up here, we're just pulling it to our hip. We don't have to bang it out. We don't have to pull it up to our chest. And he's like, it's too light. Like I can power clean, umpteen, whatever he said. And just kind of like gotta talk him off that cliff a lot of the time. It's like, dude, look, we're doing this for a reason. Like we're going to progress to those harder lifts. We're going to put more load on the bar. You just got here, like let's see what we're working with. Show me you can do it right,
Mm.
and then we can do the fun stuff. We can move on to the cool training. That
Let's walk before we can run.
let's walk before we can run. Let's roll over before we crawl. That sort of stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's huge, and it's a that's the clear definition between male and female athletes. But at the end of the day, ball is gonna ball, and
Mm.
they are all incredible athletes. They're at Division 1 college for a reason, and the intensity is just about the same. I might say the girls might get after a little bit more.
I
Um,
would 100% agree with that. I
like they
did my um, dissertation on female athletes' perception of strength and conditioning coaches
really,
and like their effectiveness. Yeah, and like female athletes don't care who's in coaching them, as long as they're competent and they can demonstrate their knowledge, they just get after it. Whereas male athletes, you're kind of having to. There's more of that interpersonal differences that you kind of need to navigate
Hmm.
and sort of figure them out and figure out how they like to be coached before you can attack them and push them and really elevate it. But women, they're very receptive as well. Like if you say to them, "Let's do a back squat," got it, back squat straight away. Oh wait, you could have actually moved your ankles out a little bit just to make room for you to get in. Perfect. Next set, do it perfectly.
Yep.
Whereas male athletes, they tend to like
Why?
just ramp up. Yeah,
Why do I have to do that? What is that doing? The male athletes, you're right. They tend to need a reason to do something. Or a female athlete is just like, aye, captain, and they just run in and do it for you.
100%. So because you have got a lot of female athlete experience, and this is something that my research picked up on, um, was that a lot of male S&C coaches tend to not speak about like the menstrual cycle and how that impacts them in the gym. How have you found that impact in your sessions?
Um, it's actually pretty cool that you mentioned that because I was at a track and field coaching clinic last year, and I sat in on
Mm,
coaching female athletes, and that was a huge topic at hand was menstrual cycle, and I don't know the research behind it, but they actually talked about how when a female athlete is on her cycle that she's at peak performance, and she was saying, I can't remember the coaches who were on this board, but oftentimes some of the best athletes are hitting their PRs in their races while they're on their cycle, and it's not. I'm not sure what it is. I haven't looked into it enough, but um, I never ran into any sort of problems at
mm,
all. Luckily, I've never been at a state championships, and my athlete tell me, "Hey, this is going on." You know, fingers crossed for my brother, but I haven't had that issue yet, and I'm thankful for that because then that's a whole nother. It's a confidence thing. It's a feel good thing. If you're going in to whether it's the basketball court or the ring and you're feeling bloated and
mm.
that takes away your confidence, takes away your ability to be who you are, right? So obviously it has implications. There's
Yeah, I would say so too.
a lot of people who think it makes them a better athlete, and you know uh, I think obviously it's up for debate, and whatever the research says is probably going to dictate the truth on that.
Yeah, I'll send you my paper so you can have a little read.
I would love it.
Um, so what I've found from the athletes that I spoke to, and it was sort of like national level to Olympic um, athletes, and they were like 2 weeks running up to your period, like that's when they're the strongest. That's what I found. Obviously, research, although it's good to go off of, there's obviously going to be that change between people to people.
Hmm.
I might have just caught the athletes that are worst leading up to it. I have also heard the opposite though, so it's not a guaranteed thing. Everyone's individual as well. But during that run up, that's when they're at their highest. That's when they peak. That's when they think. But during their period, again, it's that emotional thing. Like they're run down because their body's obviously going into destroying whatever is
Yeah,
in there, and then they have to compete. Then they've got, depending on what female it is, you could bleed through, you could not bleed through. And I think making sure that your athletes are sort of being asked, "Hey, look, how you feeling? How did you sleep?
yeah.
What have you ate today?" I think
That
keeping on track of that is key.
that checklist that's something that those coaches on that board also mentioned. Standardize a checklist for all your athletes so that when the question comes up, are you on your period? It's not weird, it's not awkward because
Hmm.
we've had this checklist every Friday before meets, since you were a freshman in high school. And that's something I didn't do, and I really wish I did. I actually have my notes. I read these notes not too long ago on this, which is pretty funny that you're asking about it. But um, yeah, like that sort of thing, having a whether it's a daily or a weekly checklist,
Hmm.
is huge because when those weird potentially awkward conversations have to come up, they're not weird or awkward because this is
Hmm.
something that we do every day.
Yep. I actually had to develop a script because of it, so that if coaches were sort of looking for a way to approach it, they could read the research and be like, okay, got it.
Mhm.
So it essentially goes, it depends, obviously, it depends what kind of sport you're in. If it's an individual sport, you kind of have to be a little bit more careful. With a group setting, you can sort of say it as it is and it's a little bit more accepted. But essentially, you gather the females around and just say, look, I've read up on this. I know essentially what happens during your period, during your phases. So I'm not saying that you have to come up to me straight away and tell me about all the details, but just to let you know that if your period or your menstrual cycle is impacting your performance in any shape, way, or form, come and talk to me and we'll make adaptations for your program.
Mhm.
That then puts the ball on their side of the court to
Yeah.
approach you or not. If it is impacting them, okay, come speak to me. We'll have a look at your program. Obviously, group settings is a little bit harder to adapt every program to each individual cycle. So it's sort of just managing their load and their resistances and whatever else that they may need during that time.
Yeah, you say that, and I wonder, just kind of a thought I just had now that you said that. I wonder how many, of these premier elite level athletes build their program and their periodization around their
Hmm.
PMS. Like I want to peak at this time, and I have a rough guesstimate of when my cycle is going to start. Like I got to train through that or around that, whatever route they wish to take. That would be really cool to see. Like
Um,
how many of them are periodizing around that.
Yeah, so that is something that was brought up in my research as well, but there wasn't enough for me to talk about it, so I kind of just had to keep it at bay. But it was that a lot of these high, like elite level athletes during competitions, if they see that their menstrual cycle is landing during that competition, they'll take oral contraceptives to stop that from happening.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. That I would have never even considered. That is interesting.
So it's like that risk to reward ratio because obviously
Yeah.
there's side effects to it.
Yeah.
You're putting hormones into your body, but they would rather compete at their highest level than have to deal with their menstrual cycle.
That is incredibly uh new to me. I would have never even thought of that.
Like it is amazing how much they have to go through, and a lot of them will be suffering, but they won't say anything in fear that they'll get made to feel less than an athlete or less
Yeah.
than a male athlete.
Well, that's because girls are way tougher than boys. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it with your clients all the time. When I did my first internship at as a personal trainer, I was working under a personal trainer and female-owned gym, female trainers, primarily female clientele, and I think that was a huge stepping stone for me in terms of coaching as well. Um, but the amount of guys who wouldn't show up to training sessions, I mean, it was crazy. Hey, I'm not going to make it. Can you tell Vanessa I'm not going to be there? Yada yada yada. Women never miss their training
Yep.
sessions ever, ever. I don't think I
And
ever
it's
saw
that it's honestly female athletes are more in sync with what they want and their goals.
one.
As soon as they have that goal in mind, that's it. Like you're not shifting that.
Yeah,
Like I've coached a female netball team, and like so I did their S&C. It was just like on the courtside stuff, and I've never been cussed out as much as I have. Like they cussed me out minute by minute, and I was like, "Damn! Like what is going on?" But after the session, they would stop and be like, "That was a really good session. Thank you for
yeah,
that. Like
yeah.
that was amazing." And I was like, "It's not what you were saying like 5 seconds ago."
Yeah, 10 minutes ago, you hated my guts. Like, what happened?
Yeah, it's like their mentality is completely different. So, what was that like training track and field?
Um, I obviously most of my success was with the female athletes. We had another state competitor boy, but he was kind of more on the not so receptive side. He was kind of a quiet, shy guy, and he was tough to coach. Great athlete, but the girls were just always wanting more. They
Mm.
always, like you said, that when a female athlete sets a goal, you're not stopping from like getting her to that goal. Like, you do what you can as a coach, and for the most part, you back off. Especially in track and field, in the throws specifically, you don't want to overcoach.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you can say to an athlete that'll just tip them off, and you ruined it. And something that Coach Jason Miller asked me post interview was, "What's your biggest mistake? What's your biggest coaching mistake?" And immediately I knew what to say. I said, "I had a female shot putter this past spring, and I started talking state titles way before
Mm.
I should have ever. That those words should have never came out of my mouth." And I saw the potential for it, and I got excited. Holy cow! Like, we can win state. This is going to be incredible. Like, oh my gosh, incredibly selfish thoughts. And whether or not that got to her, whether or not that's the reason we didn't win state, I don't know. But I think it played a pretty big role, because
Mm.
when we got to state, when she got in that ring, she wasn't herself. She was a nervous wreck. She scratched her first two throws, and you know I mean, I was fighting tears back. She was wiping tears off her eyes walking into the ring on her third throw. And if
Yeah.
you're not familiar with track and field events, you get 3 attempts in the prelims, and then if you make finals, you get 3 more attempts. If you don't get any attempts in prelims, if they're all 3 scratches, you're out. That's it. You're done for the day. She was the top dog there coming in. She was a number 1 seed, and she didn't have a spot in finals until she walked in on her last throw and hit 38 feet 10 inches. And not a PR, pretty close to her PR, but the clutchest throw
Mm.
ever, because that was it. That was it. That won her a state medal. That got her 4th place. It wasn't the title that we wanted, but we got it, you know? And I got a photo of me, like, just like holding her, just huge smile, and she's there. She's sad about it still. It's an awesome photo, but like, I was just so excited for her. Like, yes, like, now it's time. We can turn it on. We can do this.
Mm.
Like, we have time to win this. We got 3 more throws, baby. Like, let's get it. I was excited, and we didn't end up getting it, but it was. I do believe, like, that played a big part of it. I should have just stuck to the game plan.
Mm.
Right. Let's talk state titles when we're in the state finals. You know, let's talk district titles when we're at districts. Let's be a regional champ at regionals. At state, it's all about getting to the finals. That's
Mm.
it. Once we get into finals, let's start playing chess. Okay. Okay, I got to beat this girl. I got to beat that girl. Okay, whoa, now we're in first. That's the sort of thing that you have to do in track and field. Because at the end of the day, PRs are awesome, but we want
Mm.
medals. Everybody wants to bring home a state medal. It doesn't matter if you had a PR to do it, if you had a bad day to do it. If you got a first place state medal, nobody's taking that away from you. That's entrenched forever in history on athletic.net.
Like everyone's a win,
Yep, exactly.
no matter if it's a point or 50.
Yep.
A win's a win.
If you win by a
Um,
field goal or whatever, it's a W.
exactly. What's it like coaching through sort of these mental blocks that athletes can have?
Um, it's tough because in a team setting, I think it's a little bit easier. Hey,
Mm.
like, these guys believe in you, they're relying on you, that sort of thing. Especially in football, it seems to be like the mentality on mental blockage is not so much there. But in individual sports, um, although I can attest to, obviously, in the throws, it's incredibly technical, it's incredibly
Hmm.
mental, but at the end of the day, we're throwing a ball. That's really it, and kids get so tied up in the technique of it that they're walking in the ring and they're thinking, okay, now I got to sit back on my heel, I got to turn, I got to pivot on my left foot, I got to keep my left arm long, I got to get my left chest wide. You're thinking about all these things while you're trying to compete.
Hmm.
Where in football, it's like, okay, I got a guy in front of me. I'm gonna put his ass in the dirt. Like, that's it. That's my goal. Put him on the ground so my running back can get 5 yards, 10 yards, touchdown, whatever. And uh, so I had a male shot putter this past year as well. He he had a pretty tough meet one day, and sometimes, like I said, you just got to step back from coaching and
Mm.
kind of let them deal with it. And I let him deal with it for a couple hours. He was down there. He was hitting drills in the hot sun, just baking himself. I mean, he was drenched in sweat. It was like I couldn't do anything for him at that moment. I knew that if I talked to him, he would shut down. Like, I don't care, blah blah blah, because he was having a tough time. He wanted to succeed, and we
Mm.
couldn't really get it to click. Big, strong kid, athletic, state champion in wrestling. Everything was there to be successful, but we just couldn't get it to click. And he hated himself for it. He's a winner. Where I'm from, wrestling is the biggest thing. And if you don't win a state title in wrestling where I'm from, then you're a loser. Like, that's it. And so he's got himself up on a very high horse at this time. He's coming fresh off a state title in wrestling. He's gonna try shot put this year, and he's gonna go to state. That's his goal. And I think we took like sixth at districts. Ended up. So you got to place top three to make it, and we weren't even relatively close to it.
Mm.
So he was pretty beat up on himself, and he just sat there and he drilled for hours. I mean, they were like, "Where's Daryl at?" He's down there by
On
the
the
tree
mat.
still. He's still drilling that glide. It's like, damn, man, he missed this throw, he missed that throw, and I'm like, I know, I tried to get him, I tried, but it's tough for athletes, especially young
Yeah.
athletes. They're teenagers, man. They don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
You remember when you were a teenager, like, you didn't know what the heck was going on, and then you got to do this, you got to do that. It's like, oh, now I want to play this sport, and oh, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be. It just takes a toll. It takes a toll.
Yeah. So, can you go through the sort of mentality differences between high school and collegiate?
Yeah, off the bat, the team aspect is much greater at the college level. There's um there's a break. Every sport, they throw the horns up here for the herd. Throw the horns up. Bison on three. 1, 2, 3. Bison. Everybody's screaming. We're all together. It's all about the Bison way. That's it. It's all about us. We are a representation of this logo, and
Mm.
we will be successful for this logo. They don't have no sport here that has names on the back of their jerseys. No sport has names on the back of their jerseys. They ask the athletes here every single year if they want names on the back of their jerseys. They all say no. We play for the logo on the front, not for the name on the back.
Mm.
And that's specific to North Dakota State, right? But still, even at UW, it was all about the team getting better for each other, you know, and like the the offensive line that I worked with, those guys weren't starters, but they were working like the
Mm.
starters. They were working arguably harder than the starters because that's what they need to do. You never know when you're going to have to go into a game and be a part of your team. You have to be willing to sacrifice everything for the team. But
Mm.
the high school level, at least where I was at, it tended to be more individualized. Guys wanted to be, you know, all league in football. Okay, that's awesome. But what does you becoming an all league football player do for us? What does that get us to state because you got voted into the all league team? Does that get us a state title as a team because you're
Mm.
part of, this council omitted team that doesn't really matter at the end of the day? No, none of that really matters. That's awesome that you had 3 interceptions this game. We lost by 4 touchdowns, but it doesn't matter because I had 3 picks.
Yeah.
No, like the team, the logo. We lost today. Well, I didn't lose. I had a good game. No, you lost too. I had an athlete say that when he missed a game as he was doing a college visit, and somebody asked him, like, hey, man, how'd you guys lose? What happened? He's like, I didn't lose. I didn't play. No, you lost. That's your team, and you lost as well. Just because you weren't there, because you were somewhere else, that's your team, and you lost. And it was sad to hear, but
Mm.
maybe that's just my experience being from a small town, small community. That's how it was, but um, stark difference
Yeah.
Just the love for the team is much greater at the college level.
So how do you get that same connection with individual type sports? So like track and field is predominantly a solo.
Um, building culture. I think I think culture is always the answer.
Hmm.
As corny as it sounds, culture wins. Culture always wins. And if if I'm building a track team, the first thing I gotta do is hire my assistant coaches. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I can go out and hire Coach A, who has done this and that at the college level. She was an Olympic hurdler, whatever she was. Or I can hire Coach B. Coach B has worked at the high school for 8 years. She um, she's been voted like students' favorite teacher, 15, 20 times, whatever. And she competed at the high school level and made it to state once. Who would you hire to be your first coach on staff?
The people's favorite.
The people's favorite. Exactly. Because I know if I hire Coach B, she's going to run through a brick wall for these kids because she shows them respect on a daily basis. They show her respect on a daily basis. And they're going to buy into what she says because they believe what she says is valid. They believe what she says has substance. Just because Coach A has success at, the professional or college level doesn't necessarily mean that they're the right fit for that program, that school, or that sport
Mm-hmm.
in general. You know, you have to build culture again, that top down view, right? You have to build culture from the top so it trickles down to the bottom. If I have a bad attitude coming in as a head coach, and my assistant coaches walk in and they're like, "Morning, coach," and I don't look at them, I don't say nothing to them, they're gonna be pretty upset. So they're gonna
Mm.
go in and they're gonna give bad attitude to the interns. Okay, now the interns are upset. Now the interns are giving shit to the athletes. Well, now the athletes are upset. So now my whole my whole day is ruined because I gave bad attitude and my culture wasn't there from the
Mm.
jump. Now all the athletes are having bad lifts. The interns are all mad and grumpy and don't want to do nothing. And my coaches are not on top of their game. So if you don't have culture, you don't have anything.
Yeah, we've previously spoke about this, and it's sort of came down from for you, John Piper, and for me, Rocky, who was my original strength coach, and it was sort of like they're not there just to build athletes; they're there to build humans as well.
Hmm.
So for me, it was sort of like he pulled me aside and he was like, okay, instead of doing whatever you're going to do outside, which I know isn't going to be good, come in here with me. I'll you can have the gym for cheaper. You can help me coach athletes. Let's get that going so you don't have to go out there and do whatever you were doing. So for me, it was like he saw me more than just an athlete. He saw me more of like, let me develop him as a person as well. And I know you've got the same type of relationship with John Piper. So can you like sort of go through and give us a little rundown on how he developed that side of you as well?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it was pretty clear that I wasn't going to be like this amazing athlete to Piper. I think he kind of knew that. He never told me that, but he just knew I wanted to work hard, and I think he knew I'd be potentially a good coach someday, and that's why he pushed me to pursue exercise and to pursue strength. Um, you know, I haven't really communicated with him much in the last couple of years. I just saw him recently, before I left to Seattle. But as far as my youth growing up, it wasn't it wasn't like increasing my max on squat was the biggest thing in the world to him. When he would see me succeed in other places, that was huge.
Hmm.
That was big for him. Oh, I got an A on this test. Oh, Isaac, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you. That is awesome. You're going to do like this and that. You're going to be incredible. And it was like, oh, he'd see me max out on deadlift. Like, oh, I got a 500-pound deadlift now. Nice job.
Hmm.
It carried a little more weight when I did something outside of the weight room for him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
um, he cared a lot about my development early on outside of college or outside of high school, going into college. and I kept relatively close with him. And then I got a new number and just got lost in it. But I remember texting him one night, and it was a late night, and I think it was after the Andy Reese boxing match. I'm not sure if you keep up with boxing, but Andy Reese beat I believe Anthony. I think it was Anthony Joshua, knocked him out,
Hmm.
and that to me was the coolest thing. And because he doesn't look like the kind of guy who's an athlete or whatever. He looked like me, which was the cool part. I was like, damn, like this guy's got my body and he's in there like tearing it up. So I was excited, and I remember sending him that and sent a video. I'm like, hey, did you see this? He's like, oh yeah, that's awesome. And we're texting for like 20, 30 minutes, and he ends up calling me, and we just talked on the phone, and I got pretty emotional that night. Just kind of the stress of school was really starting to mount up. My life was crumbling to pieces, to be totally honest with you. I was in a dark place, and we just talked for a long time. And he made sure to let me know that he's always there for me, and that he's got my back, and he cared about me as a person. He didn't
Yep.
he never once did any sort of athletic accomplishments come up, or hey, remember that time you got all league, or remember when you threw 43 feet in the shot put. Nothing like that got brought up in that talk. It was, one thing that he said that's always stuck with me, because I felt like I was failing. I was failing as a person. I was failing as a scholar, and he was just like you're not failing. You're not failing. You can never fail. And I hear his voice say that all the time,
Mm.
and just it stuck with me. It helped me through that day, and I would like to say things got a lot better for me after that night, but it took me a couple more years to really get my stuff together. And but that was a huge thing for me, that he was on vacation even at that point. I think
Yeah.
it was like 7 in the morning for him where he was at. He was on vacation, and he took his time out of you know his vacation to just sit there and talk to me and remind me how important I was to him, not only through high school as an athlete, but now as an adult. And
Mm.
just the genuine care was something that I'll never I'll never forget. I'll always be
Yeah.
thankful for.
No, 100%. It's like that. It's again, it goes back to that human connection, how they've built up this obviously coach, but then they have that trust with the athlete to be like, times are tough, but like let's
Yeah.
go. Like
Yep.
you have to get up and you have to go back into that ring and just keep going.
Yep.
And like I mentioned this before the podcast, and I now realize that you've wrote it down and it's now in your desk. But shy boys don't get sweets. Like that's something that one of my coaches said to me, and like it's taken me like all my life. Like it dictates everything that I do. So if I see an opportunity come up in my head, the first thing isn't, oh, I'm not going to get it, or what if this, what if that. My head's like, shy boys don't get sweets.
Yep.
Let's go.
That's that right there. I never heard that quote, but that's how I ended up here at North Dakota State. That's how I ended up at UW. I applied for a job that Coach Mack posted. I knew that I wouldn't get. I knew I was underqualified. I didn't have my CSCS, but I applied. I said, you know what? I
Yep.
don't care. This is my dream. When I realized I wanted to work in strength, my dream was to be Coach Mack. I wanted to be director of performance for football at the University of Washington. That was my dream job as a kid, and
Mm.
I was like, this is it. I can work here. Like, I'm gonna apply. And the next day, he was like, yeah, no. like, basically, that's what the email said. They always say. What's funny is like they always say like the worst thing someone can say is no. But he said like something along the lines of we have many more qualified candidates who have applied. I'm like, that's way worse than saying no. So I was heartbroken. Obviously, I'm like, damn. But I didn't really know how the field worked at that time. I was
Mm.
just kind of whatever. I shot my shot, and boy, did I miss. But following, that after he, roasted me for not being qualified, he's like, I think this opportunity with our internship would be perfect for you. And he sent me Zach's email, and I emailed Zach. 2 days later, I interviewed, and the next day he offered me the internship. So, I'm thankful that I applied for that job, because if I didn't, I don't know where I'd be. I don't know what I'd be
Mm.
doing.
this wouldn't have been happening.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Like I think that's what's so cool about the program down at UW is like the connections you build are like long lasting. Like
Yes.
I still keep in contact with Tree. I still keep in contact with Nate, Colin. Like Colin's now at Texas coaching an American football team.
Really.
Like yeah, so to me I'm just like I'm in the UK, so like all these guys are like doing all these big things and I'm just like I get to like speak to them. I get to like we're
Yeah.
friends. Like we went out for dinner. Like done. We woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning to coach at 6 every single morning for 6 weeks. Like it's these unique experiences that sort of build these relationships, build these connections. Like I'm sure you've got similar with like the interns that were there at that time.
Oh yeah. Like I think it was about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I was at Walmart and I heard a Taylor Swift song come on, and I
Nah.
immediately started recording. I sent it to Natalie because she's a huge Taylor Swift fan, and just that kind of stuff, right? Um, a lot of my former coaches I worked with, I went back home for a little while and went to a couple football practices, and they asked what was the best part, you know,
Mm,
and the first thing that came to mind was Roma Dunze, because that guy's a freak, and just watching that guy move, I was like, yeah, this guy, that was the biggest thing. Like that, he's amazing. But realistically, the best thing about the internship didn't have to do with an athlete, didn't have to do with strength, didn't have to do with, learning under coaches or working, you know, at a Division 1 school. It was making friends. It
mm,
was it was building bonds with people that are interested in the same thing as me, that want to work in the same field as me, and just want to build genuine connections with people like that. Like that was the best part, undoubtedly. I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. You know,
mm-hmm.
these are long lasting relationships and friendships that, hopefully would last forever. They're friends, they're colleagues, and I cherish each and every one of those interns that I worked with at the University of Washington.
100%. And it's like you're sort of in the battlegrounds, just like duking it out with the responsibilities, because like you're getting pulled a million and one different directions, and you're just keeping up. Like
Yeah.
you just have to keep going. Because like for me, that there was definitely days that I was like today is not the day. Like there was, I think it was my first week. Obviously, I came from the UK, so there was jet lag. There was like I was run down because of like the awful experience that I went through getting there.
Hmm.
Because border patrol ain't nice.
Yeah, I heard about that. I heard about that in the other.
So yeah, the Portuguese passports apparently don't fly well. But like I got there like the first week or so, like I was just congested and I just like had to keep going. Like hay fever was at an all time high. Like I just had to like show out every single day. Cause like for me, I was like, no matter what happens after these 6 weeks, they're going to remember who I am.
Hmm.
There's nothing else that's going to happen. They're going to know who I am and they're going to remember me for what I've done here. And like that was straight away, like that was one thing that Coach Max said in my exit interview was like, by you doing what you did and like always thinking 3, 4 steps ahead, I was able to get more work done. You made my life easier. And I was like, got him. Like
Hmm.
that was it.
That's
Like
awesome.
in terms of like mentalities, and this is something that I've wanted to speak to someone about that has coached wrestlers and sort of done their training, done their coaching. What is their coaching like and training like, and how is their mentality towards their training?
It's think about wrestlers are a different breed of people. To start off with, you have to be pretty freaking crazy to get on the mat with somebody, look them in the eyes, and when the whistle blows, your whole goal is to get that guy to the ground and make him not get up.
Mm,
And obviously you want to do it without hurting somebody, but injuries in wrestling obviously are huge.
sky high.
So um, the training, it's like I said, same bread and butter stuff. A lot more pulling than pushing, as with most programs, but specifically like single arm pulls and stuff are pretty common. Pull ups are huge in the wrestling training. Um, but as the mentality goes, it's attack. It's attack, attack, attack. In wrestling, you wait, right? You kind of you want to set up your moves before you attack. You kind of you don't want to play the waiting game. You don't want to be too patient in wrestling. You're always on attack mode, but you gotta set it up, right?
Mm.
And so the wrestlers get that. They understand the setup because that's what they do. They set up moves all day. That's wrestling practice, right? So they get that we have to, set up our, you know, foundation on a power clean before we can, get to the fun stuff, right? Um, so I'm lucky in that part. Now I haven't got to in season yet, and
Mm.
if you know anything about wrestling, you know that you gotta cut weight, and people are not happy when they are in a significant caloric deficit. And whether or not they're happy or in a caloric deficit or not, guess what? You still gotta train, and you still gotta practice, and you still have to go to school and study and take that exam. So, I'm counting my blessings right now. I got a great group of guys. They're wild. They're like a little family, man. Like these guys they're just a wild little bunch, and I love them already. And every time I got this redshirt freshman, I believe he sees me, man, and it's great because there's I don't see very many Hispanic people out here, and I come from a Hispanic community, and my father is Hispanic, and it's great to see other Hispanic people around here. And every time he sees me, he lights up. He's like, "Ike, what's up, man?" He's like, "What's going on, man?" And he's all excited. He's like, "Man, you walk in, you got this aura to you." And I'm like, "Dude, like, shut up." I love that dude, man. He's so funny, and he's a real leader on the team, though. He's always first in line. He's always last one to leave, and he holds everybody accountable, and that's something that I love about him. And that's again culture, right?
Yeah.
Like that, it paves the way. And as long as you have guys like that who can help lead your team, because it's all, coaches can only do so much. If
Mm.
they see their other teammates are, slacking off, and especially the younger guys are going to do what the older guys do.
Yep.
And if the older guys aren't holding it down, the younger guys are not going to hold it down. So, the culture, the standard has to be there. And, I got to rely on guys like Fern, keeping the energy high, coming in with a smile, and being excited to lift weights.
So for you, how important is it to have those type of athletes like first in line, last out?
That's actually a huge thing for us here at North Dakota State. Um, you always start behind the line. We have a big like 40, 50 yard turf that goes like right into our weight room. It's really cool. Um, you could look it up if you want to check it out. Looks just NDSU Shack weight room. But it's very important that the athletes are behind the line before we start a warm up drill or a plyometric drill or an agility drill, whatever we're doing, and that they do one rep beyond the line. So when they pass that next line, they still have one more rep. We always do one rep before the line and one rep after the line. We don't stop at the line. Yeah, so that's see right there on that second row. That's the turf right there. Close out of that one. Let's see. There's right there. Yeah. So that turf leads into the
Mm.
weight room. So we do all our warm ups, all our plyometrics, all our agility drills out there on that turf, and then we just take them right into the weight room. We meet up before we go into the weight room, talk about the day a little bit, and we get a break. Bison on three, and we go in there, we attack it, and just have fun. That's a big thing for us here. We gotta have fun.
Yeah, that's one thing that I thought was just in the movies, like the 3, 2, 1 and break.
Oh yeah, you guys don't
Yeah,
break out there across the pond, huh?
no, we do not. And
Really?
like, yeah, which I like. I've always wanted to do it because I've seen a lot of American films. So like, I'm just like that's sick. But
Oh,
like the first ever workout at UW, like Coach Mac blew his whistle, got everyone in. As soon as that happened, he was like, "Let's break, guys." Someone was like, "Dogs on me, dogs on three, 1, 2, 3, dogs," and like
mhm.
everyone just broke out, and I was like, "This is a thing, like this happens."
Oh
And
yeah,
they were just like I obviously didn't say that to anyone. I just kept it inside, but inside I was like, "Woo,
yeah,
this is sick. Let's go."
yeah, man. It's real, and
And
that's
then AJ turns his music up to 100, and
Yep.
then we're just shouting. And
Yep.
like my first workout was freshman, like the freshman introduction. Like that was my first ever like introduction to it. And I
Oh, so
was
you're
like,
on like set one, like
yes.
okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff. Damn, that
Yeah,
was your
so
first one.
yeah.
That's
So for
tough.
me I was just like, let's fucking go.
Yeah,
And then that
that's
was it. Like I was hooked. And like from that I was just like there's nothing that like everything that I've learned at UW, I want to bring it across here. Because for me, it's like what you've been saying all this time. Like culture is the biggest factor in taking the athletes from okay to excellent.
hmm
It's like if you have that culture and that culture is right, like there's nothing that you can do that will either like even if you do lose, if that culture is still there, they're going to like guys, we didn't do our jobs this week, but we go again.
yeah.
It's a
That,
brand new day tomorrow.
yeah, then that's what culture is, right? Like, sure, we didn't lose, we feel bad about it, but our culture isn't to sit here and mope and groan about it. Our culture is to get back to work and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yep.
It's it's facing adversity and dealing with it head on. It's not about running away, and that's the biggest thing about like track and field too. Is like when you lose something, you don't ever want to feel that again. And when this past spring when my girl took fourth at state, she came up to me. I mean, she was crying her eyes out, right? We wanted a title, we didn't get it. And, I pulled her in, gave her a hug, and I'm crying at this point. And because I feel bad for her as well. And I just told her, I was like, never forget this feeling. Never forget this feeling. Because every time you want to take a rep off this summer, every time you want to, you want to take a throw off come next spring, remember this
Yep.
feeling.
Seasons are won in the preseason.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Like I firmly believe like the when I was coming up in rugby, like the harder our preseason was, the better we did on season.
hmm
Like we ended up winning the league. We won Kings of the Sevens. We went to Paris, won the cup there. Like we just did it. Like there was nothing that any team could do to stop us. And we were just like we put in the work. Like those preseason trainings were brutal. Like there was a lot of athletes just went to the side of the pitch, spewed, came back, did it again.
Yep. Yep.
And like it's kind of like that now what I know as the dog mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's dogs in this world, right? And a lot of us aren't dogs. You don't really find out if you're a dog until you get some
Push comes to shove.
adversity. And when push comes to shove, are you a dog or not? Because everybody can hear your bark, and it don't sound like you're barking very loud.
100%. And that, like I think that's one of the biggest things that I like to put across to my athletes is like no matter how tough, like swear at me all you want. Okay with that. If you hate me at the end of the session, cool. Let's talk about it again on season when
hmm
you're like facing in that dark
Yep.
point of your game or thing and you've got more to give than they do,
hmm
then you can be like, actually, it's all good.
Yep. Yep. That's something I really like that they did at UW was when it was a run day outside,
Mm,
like when it was the last go, especially like on a track day when they would run the perimeter. Um, they throw their dubs up for the last rep, and somebody's got a little something to say for the team.
mm,
My first day there was Michael Penix, and I was like, okay, this dude's a leader. Like this dude, wow. Like he
yep.
really just he said all that like right before our last rep of the day. Like that was to me that was one of the coolest things I ever saw to that point. It's like wow, this is
I think
sick.
I think that's something that Coach Mark, obviously Coach Mark, and he does like it's just Coach Mark. But
Yeah.
he what he does really well is like every single morning without fail he has the leadership book out and he's reading something from that leadership book to all the athletes. And like he goes through these rules, but really those rules are laws.
hmm
And like he's not just building, again, he's not just building athletes, he's building humans.
Yeah.
And like he's instilling leadership into them. If you have leadership, you the world's your oyster, really. Like if you're a born leader, or if you actually, I don't really believe in born leaders. I think they're developed through time, through experiences, through life.
Hmm.
But if you can give these kids like these specific rules to go by, laws to go by, they already have in their head, when push comes to shove, I'm going to lead.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot, something people just really, I call them normies or general pop, whatever you want to call them. People outside of the business, um, they struggle to get it right. It's like, yeah, I'm a coach, and yeah, I want these kids to be incredible at their sport, but 9 out of 10 of these kids are not going to play
Hmm.
ball in college. Now I'm at college again. 9 out of 10 of these kids are not going to play professional. So what I'm just gonna send, you know, this adult out into the world
Hmm.
without, giving them, developed skills over the past 3 4 years that I've worked with them. That's great. Their power clean looks awesome. That's great. But what have they learned from it? What
Hmm.
are they what are they gonna be good parents? Are they gonna be better parents because of this? Are they gonna be better employees because of this? You know, those are the things that people often look over and look past in coaching, because coaching for a lot of people, you know, I'm blessed to have, two great parents growing up. But a lot of my friends, they didn't have that. They didn't have a great home life growing up. Coaches raised a lot of these guys that I
Mm.
grew up with, and you see it at the college level even more so. A lot of guys are single parent households at the college Division 1 college football level, and these coaches, they mean more to them, to those kind of
Mhm.
guys, and that sort of thing goes such a long way. And that's something that people just don't account for. They're like, oh, coach needs to win more games, this quarterback sucks, just throw the ball, blah blah blah. What are we really doing here? We're developing people.
Yep.
That's the business we're in, is in the development of people.
Which is quite hard for, again, I like to call it Gen Pop as well. But like Gen Pop doesn't see what we see. Like they don't see, they wake up, they come to practice. During practice, they're feeling low. They're feeling like, oh, I really don't want to be here today. But how can you as a coach make that difference
Hmm.
and push them? Like, how can you push those athletes that don't want to be pushed? So for me, the simple, like, without fail, every time an athlete comes in, the first thing I say is like, "How are you doing? Good, coach. How
Hmm.
did you sleep? Terrible today, coach." I was like, "Okay, cool. Let's keep an eye on that.
Hmm.
If we don't have to push, we can just hang back,
Yeah.
just get through the session. Like, how's did you eat today? Yeah. Did you drink today? No. Let's get some water. Let's get some water first, and then we can go through the training. Like at UW specifically, like again, some of these kids are coming in with sort of outside troubles. Some of them aren't even close to home, but they're still having to come in and do everything. So for me, it's like, how are you feeling today? One of them said, not good, like family troubles. I was like, okay, I got you. If you want to talk about it, I'm here.
Hmm.
If not, also cool. We'll go through the session, we'll keep an eye on it, go get something to eat from the kitchen. I
Yeah.
think,
A lot of people discount that, right? And that's where the interpersonal skills come in. That's where having that bond with
mm,
your athletes goes a long way. Because if I'm just a guy who's hounding on somebody all day in the weight room, for an hour, hour and a half, and I'm just a complete, jerk to them,
mm,
well, they got to go home. What if mom's a jerk to them all day? What if dad's a jerk to them all day? And then they got a coach who's a jerk to them for 2 hours out of the day. You never know. This is mostly at the high school level, but you never know what a kid's going through.
yeah,
And you gotta pick and choose your fights wisely. Is this going to be worth it today? You know, Maybe we should just hold this talk off till tomorrow. I've had a lot of tough conversations with kids. Give me attitude for whatever which reason. It's like, hey, there's certain kids you can. go right back at them. And then there's certain kids, it's like, I let that slide, talk to them one on one afterwards. What's going on? Like, is there something we got to talk about? What do we have to figure out?
It's exactly that, and I think again, I've mentioned conscious coaching before to you, and how much that book has done for me personally. Um, but it's like you don't know the home life of these athletes, so you're either going to be the same as what they're getting at home, or you can be the difference
Hmm.
to their day. And I think this book really prepares you well for it
Yeah, I still
because
got to
it
find
go
it.
yeah, it's honestly it's my Bible since day one. That's the first ever coaching book that I read.
Really?
And honestly, yeah, like, and I've read a lot of them. Some of them but like this one, like if no other book ever gets mentioned in this podcast, this is the one that you have to go and get because it takes you through all these different personalities, all these different people, different situations in their home life, work life, and it makes you think about, okay, they're coming here. I don't know the type of day they've had, so I'm going to make it a fresh new day for them as soon
Hmm.
as they come in here. And like, it's knowing who to coach a certain way. You can't push someone that has had it hard all their life.
Yeah.
You kind of have to take a step back and be like, okay, you coach me today.
Hmm.
I'll do whatever session that you want to do today. Let's bond. Let's bond over that first. If we bond there, there's more of a chance that he's going to be like, actually, Coach Manny, I like him. I'll listen to what he's saying. Because, like, some kids obviously have a bad home life, bad life in general. But for me, I'm more interested in who they are and what they're going to do. So let's strip it back down. I'll follow you. I don't mind. I'll do a workout. It could be the worst workout, it could be the best workout, but we're connecting, we're bonding. And I think that says a lot when coaches can just take their time and just be present for their athletes.
Yeah, exactly. It's you got to look past, you know, face surface of an athlete, right? Being an athlete is part of their life. It's not their entire life. And, you know, to show interest in them as a person and, you know, being consciously aware of how they're feeling, on a regular basis, you're just going to get them bought in even more. And
Mm,
they're going to care about you. They're going to care about what you have to say, and they're going to trust you more.
100%. Like, it is that. It's like you're not, it's just being a human. I like to just say you're just trying to be a human. And like what you do, and you've said this before, is like if you're a jerk to to your assistant coaches, they're going to be a jerk to their
Hmm.
interns. Interns are going to be jerk to athletes, and it's just that vicious cycle that you're going to go through. And then the culture suffers, and then you're losing games. That gets worse. You get more pissed. Assistant coaches get more pissed. Interns get more pissed.
Hmm.
Athletes get more pissed, and then it just continues.
Yep. And then people get fired. So,
That's another important thing. It's not so much here because there's not that much at stake. Like, obviously, like, you want to do well,
yeah.
but like across there with D1, it's like if you have a sucky season,
See you
you're
later.
going.
It's win now. It's a win now mentality, and a lot of that it starts again from the top down. It all trickles down. You could be a great head coach, but if you don't foster the culture through your assistants and through your strength staff or your even your athletic training staff,
Mm,
it's not going to work.
it's again not seeing everyone as like different steps. It's
Yeah.
everyone. You're only as strong as your weakest link.
Yep. Exactly. That's something that Coach Cook. Shout out to Zach, man. I got a lot of respect for that guy. He instilled in me right away. He
Mm,
was like on the interview or on the call where he told me that I would be accepted into the internship. He's like, I'm really excited to have you out here. This is meant to be a mutually beneficial
mm,
relationship for us. You're gonna benefit us, and we're gonna benefit you. Like you get to put that purple W on your resume, and hopefully, you get something out of this career wise. And you know, putting that purple W on the resume was awesome. and it looks great. When I print it out, I look at it, I'm like, hell yeah, like that looks killer. I remember when I first did it, I was so excited. But I got so much more out of it than a couple references and a purple W. Like, I grew as a person, I grew as a coach, and it's thanks to guys like Jack, you know, Natalie, people like that I spent a lot of time with Jack and Natalie. So
So we're back. We had a little break, um, but we started talking about CVs and how the process at UW and what you go through to build these CVs. And for us, it was two workshops, and then we had to present them, and then we got pretty much grilled on it, which I personally like. I like getting grilled on things
mhm.
because if I get grilled, then I'm like, okay, let's fix it. Let's go back to the drawing board and let's go. Um, so obviously you've mentioned that you sort of coached alongside your brother, your track and field um, winnings with them. Do you want to go into a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so my brother, shout out Phil Aguirre. He's he was my high school track and field coach. He was shot put and discus coach for me in high school, and never really got to the success that I thought I would get. I thought I was a lot better than I was, and it's kind of never really panned out. Also, we butted heads really bad. Being coach's brother was pretty tough. I felt shafted at times, but you know, I got a better PR than he did, so that goes. You know what I mean? Not much better. I think only a couple inches, but um, in all seriousness, I graduated and I went back home, and he didn't really he didn't really ask. He kind of just said, "Hey, I need a plyo program for the throwers this year," and I was like, "Okay, I'll see you there, day one." And I was there and showed him the plyometric program I made for the throwers, and he was digging it. And so that was really my first taste of coaching was introducing plyometrics to this group of kids. And you know it's pretty simple, right? At bare bones, when I tell kids we're doing plyos, we're jumping. We're just
Hmm.
jumping. That's really it. And it's just squat jumps and ankle bounces, that sort of stuff, to build up to the more complex, like depth jumps and box jumps and stuff like that. Um, but it was a little awkward, going into coaching my brother because you know we didn't work too well as an athlete to coach, relationship. But man, did we knock it out of the park as coaches together. And it was kind of like the yin and the yang.
Mm,
Phil is really he's more reserved, and he's more kind of the technical guy, where
yeah.
I'm like, I'm a strength guy, so I get in there and I'm wild and I'm hyping kids up and I'm just getting crazy. And it was kind of like the 1-2 punch that we really were able to just to mesh well together as coaches. And I designed their warm-ups, I did their plyometric program, and this is on a volunteer basis. I just came out and volunteered my first year, and we got to state, and we had a couple throwers in state, a senior boy and a freshman girl who I talked about earlier. And her name's Toddy, and we call her Tots for short. But she was incredible from the jump. Right, we got her out to throw, and just kind of started to build up and build up. Eventually got to the state title, or to the state championships, and he's like, "All right, go warm them up." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I gotta take these kids through a warm up before they're gonna compete at the state championships. So I didn't show it, but damn, was I nervous, man. Like that was a big kind of. He didn't come with us, nothing. Like it was just me and Daniel, and I warmed him up, and he ended up bringing home a fourth place medal on his first throw. He locked
Nice.
in, which was crazy because he had the worst week of practice ever. I mean, this kid was so nervous. His hands were slimy. I mean, he couldn't even hold the discus,
Oh,
and it was bad. It was bad, and we kind of just cut our losses. We're like, yeah, whatever. He got to state, like that's a good season for him. Ended up throwing like 139 feet on his first throw, and locked into that state medal, which was awesome. And I like to say it was the warm up, but I don't think it was. I think we always preached it only takes one throw. It's something my brother always preached, even when I was an athlete, and that's all it took for Daniel. It just took the one throw, and so obviously, he earned my trust there, and I warmed up Tots for the rest of her events. She actually made it in 3 events, both her
Nice.
freshman and sophomore year. Freak athlete, and she can throw it, man. She's good. She's one of those kids where you tell her to jump, and she asks, to what building. She just can do it all. But
It is that first solo session is one of the scariest sessions, though.
yeah, it was scary, man, because I wanted him to be prepared, but I didn't want to fatigue him.
Yeah.
And my brother trusted me with that. My brother had been coaching throws since 2010. He was 12 years in. He was like, "Go do it, little bro. Like, go
Mm,
do it." And that it it carried a lot of weight for me. It really did because he's someone I look up to. He's he's the guy for me, and I'm getting
yeah.
a little choked up. Like he's
You're all good.
he's he's my best friend, and I wouldn't be where I am in coaching without him.
Yeah.
Uh, he's who I look up to. He's who I want to be as a man, as a coach, as a father someday. He's the guy, and
Nah.
I got a lot of love for him.
Nah, like 100%. Like when you've got that bond with a sibling, it's like no matter what happens, like that's your guy. Like
Yeah,
especially if he's like, obviously he was 12 years in, and he's just like, "Little bro, let's go.
yeah,
Your time, your time to shine."
yeah, and it was nerve wracking, like I said, but it showed me that he believed in me. He knew what I was capable of. He was aware of my knowledge, and you know that was a huge pivotal moment for me in my coaching career. I was 10 weeks into coaching at that point, and my only experience before that was a personal trainer's assistant. Like that's two totally different realms of exercise and fitness, if you will. And you know going on into the next season, it was that's when head football coach, who was also the head track coach,
Hmm.
realized, like, oh wow, like he trusts this guy. He really, he asked him, did you do that because he's your brother, or did you do that, like, why did you do that? And he told him, it's because I trust him. And
Mm.
my brother would never tell me that because that's just the kind of guy he is. So I had to hear this from Jason Smith, who's another coach that I worked for, and another coach that I was an athlete for in high school. It's big love to Jason as well. Um, I had to hear that from somebody else because Phil would never say anything like that to me. But
Yeah.
um, you know, next season comes around, and Smith offers me a paid position, and I was taken back. Like, wow, like that's awesome. It wasn't about the paycheck for me at
Yeah.
all, and but just it was more of the gesture of it, right? Like, holy cow, like I'm getting paid to coach now. This is awesome. Like this is great. And so obviously, I took it up a notch going into my second season as a coach, and especially now paid. You're the low man on totem pole. You gotta, I'm doing what Big Bro tells me to do.
Yep.
So for the most part, I was coaching the newer kids in the shot put, and really just kind of like cracking down on the nonsense, right, and making sure kids are staying, on track, and not just fooling around, because track gets a little foolish. If you've ever been around track and field, you know how it can get. And um, you know, he was just a great mentor for me, as not only as a coach but as a big brother. Um, we went into the state championships. Obviously, we wanted to win it, and he told me this past year, because he lost the state title with the previous athlete, and they only lost in the discus by a few inches. And he told me, he's like, I will never let that happen again.
Mm.
And I primarily coached the shot put, which is where we were trying to get the title. And so that's where I felt like I let him down. That's where I felt like I let my athlete down, because I couldn't. I did something wrong. I couldn't coach her through a tough time, and I didn't work through the problems with my brother enough.
Mm.
So that's, now I just lost my first title and he just lost his second because, in my opinion, I wasn't a good enough coach. Now, granted, that's probably not true, but that's how it felt.
Yep.
So I remember just being there, being an emotional wreck, and he's like, "It's okay, it's okay," and I'm like, "It's not, man." I mean, that was one of the worst days of my life. It was
So
detrimental.
how do you deal with that?
I talked about it. I talked about it with multiple people. I talked about how I felt, and to my parents, they were like, "Hey, how'd it go?" And I just broke down. I was like, "We lost, like this, we lost." And my mom, she's constantly trying to see the light in the situation. She's like, "She didn't lose. You didn't lose. Like, you got a fourth place medal. Yada yada yada." And I'm like, "We didn't want fourth. Nobody wants to bring home a fourth place medal, dude. We wanted the chip, and you know it, it was tough, obviously, but like I just talked to them for a while, and then me and my brother had a lot of conversations about it, and
Mm.
I talked to Jason Smith. We talked about it, and then we talked to Tots about it. How it was going to affect her. Because at the end of the day, it's about her. It's not about
Mm-hmm.
us. Like, we'd love to be state championship coaches, but it's not about us. Uh, we're trying to take kids to places we could never be. At the end of the day, that's what coaches do. Um, and you know, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm over it. I don't think I'll ever forget it or be totally over it. To be honest with you, man. I mean, that was rough. But just talking to each other about it.
Yeah.
What did we do wrong? What did we do right? Is there something else we need to incorporate for those types of situations? And the biggest thing we got from it was we need more big time meets. We need
Mm.
more meets where she's not a shark swimming around eating up all the fish. She needs to get ate up, earlier on in the season, so that when she gets to those tippy top meets, it ain't no thing. You know, been there, done that. Like, I've seen girls throw 40 feet, whatever. I'm gonna do it
Mm.
too. And just that sort of, you know, the reason why football teams schedule harder opponents so that they can play better in league play, so that they have more competition when it comes to conference championships and getting to national titles. It's the same thing behind that concept, right? You have to compete against the best so that you can beat the best.
Yes. You can't be the best swimming around with little fish.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that sort of relationship and meetings with coaches is really crucial too. So like everyone's on the same page, everyone's singing off the same hymn sheet, everyone's sort of, and I really do like. Coach Mark does this a lot too, and he's like he constantly has meetings with the interns, he has meetings with the coaches, he has meetings with the head coaches, and everyone's just sort of singing off that same hymn sheet.
Exactly. Because especially in that setting, right? You have to be on the same page with everybody, and that's kind of where the track staff at Toppins High School was kind of wishy washy, because we felt like there was coaches holding this standard, and then there was coaches holding this standard, and it's like, oh well, the jumpers can do this, or well, the sprinters can do this, and it's like, nah, that's not sliding at the throws pit.
Mm,
Like, no way that's sliding over here. And you got to hold the standard throughout the entire program, not just individual events, whether it's a team sport or not.
100%. 100%. So what is one piece of advice that you would give new coaches coming up?
One piece of advice, I thought about this one for a little while, and I was gonna write some spectacular answer to this, but honestly, it's so simple that it's gonna sound almost dumb. My mother always says this: there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Mm,
Oftentimes, especially in strength, ego plays a big role, and we don't want to ask this question because maybe we should know it, or maybe everybody else knows it, and we're going to sound dumb for asking it. Well, I'd rather look dumb right
hmm
now asking that question than to look like an absolute idiot in 2 weeks when I'm trying to teach something to an athlete, or I'm trying to whatever it is, and I can't do it because I didn't ask.
mm.
So I'm not going to be made a fool for not asking a question that I thought was dumb. So huge shout out to my mom on that. I know she'll love that. There's no
Hundred
such thing
percent,
as a dumb question.
100%. And like my time at UW, that's what I did. I just asked questions. I
Yes.
was there to be a sponge. Like it would be the simplest things. AJ would be like, set up this rack. Cool. How?
Yeah.
Set up this way. Why? Why do we do it this way? I think it's there was one thing in particular that coach was like, that's well picked up on, and this is why. So we were doing. So obviously, Coach Mac has his set warm up for everyone. You get in line. I think it's 25 or
Yeah.
15.
10 or 15
Yeah,
for a stretch or for.
the first run through.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he has that. It's the same thing every single day.
Mhm.
There's one day that switched, and I was like, hold on, AJ, why did it switch? And he was like, well picked up on. It's because we're doing COD today. And I was like, got
Oh.
you. So I think it was, instead of just running linear, we did like karaoke's, we did like some horizontal stuff. And I picked up on that and I was like, AJ, why? And he was like, COD, got you. Coach Tony as well. There was a couple sessions where he stopped me, like I was always running about like fixing things or putting things back in place or setting up for the next session. He stopped me. I was like, "What's your question today?" And I was kind of taken back because it was like, "Is it that obvious to ask questions every single day?" Um, and I was like, we were doing dead bugs overhead, rack dead bugs. So overhead, isometric, and then they did dead
Hmm.
bugs. And I was like, have we ever done like suitcases? Coach Tony was like, what's a suitcase?
Yeah. What is that?
So it's essentially, I'll see if I can pull it up. So it's essentially a bilateral dead bug. So both arms and both legs are going at the same time.
Oh, okay. Okay. Like a V up. That's what I'm imagining.
I'll show you. If it doesn't come up, I will get down on the floor and I will do it.
Hell yeah.
No. Essentially, you're going knees to elbow. See if I can get it. Knees to elbow, and then you extend it out, back in, out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I was like, "Have you ever done suitcases?" And he's like, "What's a suitcase?" So I showed it for him, and he was like, "No, but that's a really good exercise. Let's talk about it." And I was like, just having that coach start take his time out of the day to like go through an exercise with me. I was like, that's pretty dope.
Yeah. That is cool. You said what coach was that?
Coach Tony, he would have left by the time you got in.
Oh yeah,
Tony Bixler.
Coach Tony.
I'll see if I can pull him up. He's a really good coach too. He's a bit militant.
What's his last name?
Bixler.
I think it's good to have a militant presence in the weight room setting. At least one guy.
Again, that's the good thing about UW is like every coach is really good at one thing, and like,
Yeah.
but they're also all rounded.
Mm-hmm.
So like obviously AJ Meathead, he's just any exercise progression, anything that you can think of, he knows. His programs are so detailed as well.
He's so quick with it too.
Mm,
It's crazy because you could tell AJ something and he's like, boom, here's a progression of that. Boom, here's a regression of that. It's like, I didn't have my notebook out. Like, rewind that. Let's talk about that again. But he's so fast. He's on to the next thing. He's 4 racks down already.
hmm. And that's the thing that I was going to say as well. Is like Coach AJ, sort like okay, so what I chalk down an intern position to be is like you kind of have to read their minds. They're not going to be able to give you all the detail that you need because it's just not time efficient.
Mm,
So you kind of have to read that next step and ask effective questions to get that next step.
yeah.
So I think for me, I was like, anytime that AJ explained something and got us off to do our tasks, I would stop and be like, okay, we're doing a Z press. Are we doing it on the floor in the rack or are we doing the Z press outside the rack? And he was like, okay, cool, inside the rack. it makes more sense because the next exercise is on the dub.
Yep.
So for me, I was just like, I'll take my time to task a stupid question, but that's actually going to better flow the session.
Yeah. And like I said, it's much better to think you sound dumb right now
Mm,
than to look like an idiot later on. Always, always, always. Because and then potentially, especially in our field, you could potentially be injuring someone. You could hurt somebody.
yep,
And at that level, who would say it? Zach Cook would always say it. He's like, at this level, if somebody gets injured in the weight room, it's on ESPN.
yep.
Everybody's getting fired. Like that's it. They're clearing out the whole room. You can't have that. This is a
And I
place to
think
get for athletes to get healthier, to get stronger, for training, not to get injured. Like that's the last place you need somebody to get injured is inside of the weight room under supervision.
100%.
No way, man. Can't have it happen.
And that it goes back to that whole complete team. Like one of the best sort of programming tip I got was from Coach Fink. Now he does all the logistics of the program
Yeah.
after he speaks to Coach Mac. But for me, I was like, have you got any tips on programming? Because I like he was doing a program, so I was like, can you explain it to me? Like, can you run me down your process? And he's like, yeah, right now I'm currently going through the push and pulls. They need to equal up. Like I need to have as many pushes as I do pulls. If they're not, so say we're working strength, so low reps, high sets,
Hmm.
or high sets, low reps. On my accessory exercises, obviously the reps will be higher,
Hmm.
but the sets will be lower. So they kind of balance each other out. So for me, I was like, that that makes sense. Like to create a balanced athlete, you need to equal out the pushes to pull,
Yep.
develop both. And then I was like, do you have some like information packs that I could read on this? And he was like, I've got a textbook. I'll send you it. So from there, I just got this whole textbook where now I'm having to further read and further develop my knowledge base on this one thing.
What did he send you? What book was
I'll send you it afterwards
it? Okay.
here in my emails, but
I'm
I'll send you it
curious.
afterwards. And I'll post it on the in the description as well for anyone who wants to have a look at it.
Okay.
But
I,
it was just that. It was just like a simple question turned into me now having a book to go off of when I'm programming.
yeah, that's awesome. Especially because, like, I know you had a way different uh experience with Fink, but for all of us this summer, Fink was like the guy like that you didn't mess with. Like, like Fink was just like this towering. Walks out of the weight room, and you're like, okay, who's this guy? Like, he's just looking around, and then you talk to him, and he starts smiling and joking around and stuff. And it's like, I cannot read this guy. Like everything's a joke to him, but also he takes everything serious, and it's so like I don't know how to talk to him.
Super competitive. Play
He's
rock paper
he
scissors.
yeah he the rock paper scissors things killed me, dude. That was funny. The coolest thing Fink told me, and dude, like I swear, this guy changed my life in terms of in shrugs. Because I love new ways to shrug. I want to get big
Mm,
traps, right? I want to have big
it's that
traps.
Mike Tyson neck.
Yes, dude. Yes. So he put in the program. I call it 30 for 30 now, but it's a 30-second isometric with the kettlebells, and then you do 30 reps.
Mm.
Holy man, I put everybody onto that. I'm like, yo, you gotta do these shrugs, and that's all. Shout out to Fink, man. But I
Yeah,
remember
like
doing that. I was like, you're an evil genius for this. This is diabolical.
like his programming is next level. That's like
He's
because
he
like
gets very creative.
he'd make all the sheets that you saw up on the screens and stuff. Like it was him that was like implementing all that. So for him, I was just like, I have to pick his brain on it. Like I have to, like, and then from that, it was the same as AJ. Like I asked him his process, and like there was one meeting that we had with AJ, and he was like, I've got pen drive full of textbooks and books for sort of developing you as a coach. Come at the end and I'll give you them.
Really.
So like as soon as I got home, I got my pen drive. The next day, I was like, AJ, here's my pen drive.
Load it up.
load it up. I think it took like 2 hours,
Oh wow,
legit 2 hours to like. I had to have a beefy pen drive.
that's
So
awesome.
like I got that. Like I've it's on my computer. Like anytime I have a question, I go to these textbooks and I just like read. Like where can I get this information from?
That is really cool. That's awesome. I know uh, Cook kind of did the same thing with us. He was our coordinator. Was Coach Cook,
Mm-hmm.
and he put us on like a really cool spreadsheet that he has for like just basic programming and like this checklist that he just goes down each and every little block and
Mm,
is checking all the bases as he implements and like puts in an exercise to his program. And I don't know where the heck I started at, probably on my laptop, but man, it's great. Like I reference it often. Like I'm looking at it, and I do it now, not to scrutinize when, because
mm-hmm.
obviously, like I'm not building the programs currently for my athletes. I'm working under coaches, right, and eventually like I'm gonna take over. So I'm looking at theirs and comparing it to this checklist that Coach Cook gave me, and my own checklist that I made as well through what I learned under Cook and under AJ and those guys. And I'm thinking, okay, like this is pretty much all the same. For
Mm.
the most part, all the bases are checked. Throughout the week, whether you're doing 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 2 days a week, it's all about checking the bases.
Yep. I think a really important thing about this industry as well is like the best coaches aren't gatekeeping. Like
No, not at
AJ
all.
AJ sent me his programs. Like he sent me his database. Coach Mark sent me his database. I would spend hours with Cook and Coach Cream, and I would like, can you talk me through your Excel sheets? Like Coach Cream walked me out through all his sports science databases, Power BI. He walked me through his Excel sheets, and like he said, like he sort of drew a graph, and he was like, okay, you've got four different types of athletes. You've got your horse, your horsepower. Like the athletes are going to go 110 all the time. You've got the skilled guys that are going to go 95. You've got the people who are trying hard but they're not getting there, and you've got the lazies, like the people that are just not working. And you kind of have to differentiate your spreadsheets accordingly to these athletes.
Mm,
Like there's a grid, and you have to sort of match up where they are. So like someone's 190% like heart rate isn't going to be another player's 195. So you kind of have to know, okay, this horsepower athlete should be at the 200%. He's actually at 150%. What is going on there? Then you can pick up the individual athletes. Then you can sort of mix match and see what's happening and why it's happening.
yeah, I think especially as I get into more teams, right, more male to female, that is a huge thing, right? Not only do you have to dictate through male and female, like who's a horsepower, who's a lazy, who's the skill guy, right? You have to find those athletes and be able to adapt to your coaching, and hopefully you don't have to adapt your program as much. Like I said, the 90% rule, right? You want to, if 90% of my guy, if 90% of my team is horsepower athletes, then this program's gonna go crazy.
Mm,
But if 90% of them are lazies, then we got to do something that's going to benefit all of them. Not just the
100%.
10% who are gonna go insanely hard.
100%. And like my Excel skills developed so much from that, from my time with Coach Cook, um, Cream. They were like, "This is what I watched. This is how I learned it. Go." And like I would get back to them and be like, "Okay, I've had a look at some stuff. Challenge me. Like, can you create a challenge for me to do to come back tomorrow, and I'll show you how I did. Then you can pick it apart."
That is that's something that I really wish I did. I sometimes I think I didn't take full advantage because of the things that you tell me you did, and that Jack started doing towards the end. I'm like, damn, like, am I getting everything out of this? these guys are playing chess. I'm playing checkers. Like I for the most part, I was doing what I was told. I was, falling in line and asking questions, of course, but never to the point where I was like going into detail with somebody at their desk about something. With Coach Cook a couple times, but I just kind of felt like I didn't want to be overbearing. I don't want to be,
Mm.
somebody that was just constantly like over somebody's desk, like, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, can I check it out?"
I
So
think
I kind of wish I was. I feel like, you know, that
I
sets you
think
apart.
yeah, for me it wasn't such like I think I had this one opportunity to get this information because across here it's a little bit harder to like get one-to-one contact with these coaches. So for me, I was like, I have 6 weeks to get as much information as possible. So like every single day I would do something to learn more. Like I would sit in Ali's meetings with the players. I would go pester the physical trainers. I would I would go and just like I couldn't do much, but I could pick their brain. I could ask questions. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? I would go out of my way to sort of help out in the kitchens, speak to Josh, speak to whoever was in the kitchen that day. I would I would go at the end of each session. I would pick up all the bottles. I would take one job away from the trainers to make their life easier. They already have to see 120 athletes that day.
Yeah,
So for me, I was like, I'll make their job easier because then if I get that done quicker, I can go and pester them.
hmm
Very selfish.
that no, but that that's a great that's a great way to do it. Like
And that like
selfish, yeah, but you were helping incredibly through that process.
I think as well, like Jack, Jack did a really good thing was when he heard about me, he messaged me. Like he already knew that I had been there the year previously, so he messaged me like, "How was it? Like, what do I expect?" And I was like, like what I've just said, I said it to him. Like, you need to think this as an investment. You're only going to get one chance to do all this, ask all these questions. So it's an investment. So you're paying to be there, so let's make the most out of that money that you're spending and really get it worth. It's just like these, and that, again, I think it's just my mentality. Like if someone's got a piece of information that I want, I'm going to ask for it.
Hmm.
If then they don't want to, then that's no longer in my control, and that's on them, not on me.
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate enough that every coach that I've wanted to speak to, like they've openly spoke to me about everything.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like what you just said earlier too. Like none of the best coaches are gatekeeping. You know, for a very long time, it felt like that. But
Mm,
then once you start to get to know coaches and you're really involved in the business, you realize one, it's a small business, and maybe not everybody knows everybody, but everybody knows somebody who knows everybody. You know,
mm,
like it's intertwined in one way or another. Kind of like how when I posted on my Instagram that I was at North Dakota State, Ali, the nutritionist, was like, "Hey, that's where I volunteered." I worked under Jim Kramer, who's the football guy here, and it's like, oh,
nice.
dude, like that's so cool. Like it's so small and intertwined, even through athletic training and nutrition. Like it all ties together, and it's so cool because I have a feeling like we're all going to end up working together again at some point, right? Whether it's an intern that I interned with or a coach that I worked for, the likelihood of ending up somewhere again together is pretty high. And you got to make sure you didn't leave a sour taste in that guy's mouth or that
Exactly.
girl's mouth, because if you did, you're not gonna have a good time.
100%. It's also not burning these bridges.
Yeah,
Like keeping constant contact. Obviously, you don't have to speak every single day, but like just be like, "Hey, what's up? I like that." Like I messaged. I can't remember who it was, but I constantly message people if I see something on their story. I'm like, "Hey, that's awesome. Hey, this is great. Tell me more."
yeah. I think that it's so much easier now too with social media,
Mm,
right? It used to be, you'd have to, call or text and, have to almost start a forced conversation just to keep in touch with somebody. But now you can just slide up on their story, like, hey, nice job, go dogs. And
Hmm.
you just have that constant relationship with somebody that you worked with, and when the time comes, hey, I applied for this job. Is it okay if I put you as a reference? And 9 times out of 10, they're gonna say yeah.
No, 100%. We're 2 hours and a half deep.
Oh my gosh, it is almost 5 p.m.
um,
Is this
this
typically
was
how long they
amazing.
go?
Sorry,
Is this typically how long they go?
I can't hear you. Sorry.
Is this like how long the other ones were? They were like an hour.
Oh no, the other ones were like an hour, hour and a half. So you hold the record. You do hold
Nice.
the record.
Let's go.
No, this has been amazing, and obviously, like, a pleasure to talk to you. We've spoke before, and it kind of ended up the same. We spoke for hours.
Yeah.
Do you want to sort of plug your Instagrams, everything that you've got going on, and your brother stuff?
I like it. See if my brother's on X. I don't think he has coaching stuff on his Instagram, but his Instagram's kind of, I don't want to put his Instagram up there. But he does have a coaching Twitter I'd like to throw up there just to show him
Yeah,
some love. If I can pull that up. I think it's Coach Phil Aguirre on X. Should have had this ready to go. Sorry.
that's all good.
Yep, that's him right there. Shoot him a follow
So
too. He's a cool guy.
this lady is jacked.
Yeah, that's Chase Ely. She's a world champion in the shot put. She's awesome. She's a crazy athlete. She was actually a 100-meter sprinter when she was in high school. Pretty
Oh
cool.
damn,
Yeah, now she's a world champion shot putter. she's an athlete.
that's it. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, she's awesome. I love watching her.
No, so this has been awesome. Thank you so much for taking 2 hours and a half out of your day.
Yeah, dude, I love it. I would do it again.
Episode 2 is always in there.
Heck yeah, dude.
We always have more to talk.
Awesome.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you, man. Appreciate you.